The Corvathi diplomatic ship emerged from faster-than-light travel with the grace of a dying animal. Its hull bore scorch marks and poorly patched holes. Once, vessels like this had carried invasion fleets. Now it limped toward human space carrying only prayers. Ambassador Thelvax stood at the observation window, his 4 arms clasped in a gesture of distress. Behind him, his aide whispered nervous calculations. They were 3 days from human territory, 3 days from either salvation or destruction. They will kill us, the aide said. Thelvax said nothing. Perhaps death would be cleaner than what they deserved. The communication console chimed. A human face appeared on the screen. Female, dark-skinned, with gray streaking through her black hair. Her expression revealed nothing. Corvathi vessel. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Human Concord. You have requested diplomatic access. Your request has been approved. Proceed to these coordinates. Any deviation will be considered hostile. Any weapons activation will result in immediate destruction. Do you understand? Thelvax bowed his head. We understand, Admiral. We are unarmed. We come seeking peace. The Admiral's eyes held something Thelvax could not read. Peace. How interesting. Transmitting coordinates now. Peace? 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 The screen went dark. 2 days later, they approached Requiem Station. Thelvax had studied human architecture during the war. He remembered their stations as practical structures, efficient but unremarkable. This was different. Requiem Station was massive. It stretched across space like a metal continent, bristling with sensors and docking ports. But what stopped Thelvax's breath was what lay beyond it. Earth. The planet hung in space like a broken jewel. Even from orbit, the scars were visible. Entire continents showed the telltale signs of orbital bombardment. Oceans had turned strange colors. The atmospheric readings on their sensors showed toxicity levels that should have made the planet uninhabitable. Gods of the void. His aide whispered. Did we do that? 3. With now the ring of the main scene. Did we do that? Thelvax remembered the reports. 50 years of war. The Corvathi Empire had thrown everything at humanity. When the humans refused to surrender, when they kept fighting from colony to colony, the order came down. Make an example of their homeworld. Show them that resistance was futile. The bombardment lasted 6 months. 12 billion humans lived on Earth. When it ended, the planet was silent. That was 200 years ago. The Corvathi had assumed humanity was extinct. They were wrong. A tractor beam locked onto their ship, guiding them into a docking bay. Through the windows, Thelvax saw human ships, hundreds of them. Each one bore weapons that made Corvathi military technology look primitive. How had humanity advanced so far in 2 centuries? The docking clamps engaged with a heavy thud. Thelvax straightened his formal robes and walked toward the airlock. His delegation followed. 12 Corvathi officials, who had drawn the shortest of straws. Nobody wanted this assignment. The airlock opened. Admiral Chen stood waiting with an honor guard of Marines. They wore dress uniforms, not combat armor. They carried no visible weapons. Somehow, this made them more intimidating. Ambassador Thelvax, the Admiral said. Her voice was perfectly professional. Welcome to Requiem Station. I am Admiral Sarah Chen, Commander of the Earth Defense Fleet and representative of the Human Concord. Thelvax performed the traditional Corvathi bow of respect. Admiral Chen, thank you for receiving us. We come on behalf of the Corvathi Empire to discuss. The Corvathi Empire is collapsing, Chen interrupted. Your outer territories are in open rebellion. The Xinthic Confederation has reclaimed their home systems. The Pelin Free Worlds have declared independence. Your core military has suffered 17 major defeats in the past 3 years. Your economy is in freefall. You come here not to discuss anything, Ambassador. You come here to beg. The words hit like physical blows. Thelvax opened his mouth, then closed it. Everything she said was true. Chen's expression softened slightly. Follow me. We have much to discuss. They walked through corridors of polished metal. The station was clean, efficient, and eerily quiet. Through windows, Thelvax caught glimpses of Earth. The planet seemed to watch them. Why is it still like that? His aide whispered. The planet. They have the technology to restore it. A human officer turned. It's a memorial. We keep it exactly as your people left it. They entered a large conference room. The walls were transparent, offering a full view of Earth. Thelvax found it difficult to look at. Please, sit, Chen said. She activated a holographic display. Images appeared in the air. Cities burning. Colony ships exploding. Humans screaming. Before we discuss peace, Chen said, we need to establish a shared understanding of history. This is archive footage from the war. We have thousands of hours. We will begin with the first battle of Proxima. Thelvax watched as Korvathi ships destroyed a human medical station. He remembered reading about this battle. The report had called it a strategic victory. The footage showed doctors and patients dying as their station broke apart. Admiral, I don't understand. Why show us this? Chen looked at him with those unreadable eyes. Because, Ambassador, you came seeking peace. But we need to know if you understand what you're asking forgiveness for. We need to know if you remember. We remember the war, Thelvax said. Do you? Chen gestured at the images. Or do you remember reports and statistics? Do you remember strategy and tactics? We remember names. Ambassador, we remember faces. We remember every single human who died at Korvathi hands. She pressed another control. The walls filled with text. Names. Millions of names. Scrolling past, too fast to read. 12,473,862,914, Chen said quietly. That's how many humans died in your war. We know every name, every age, every story. We have preserved them all. Thelvax felt something cold settling in his chest. This wasn't anger. Anger would have been easier. This was something else. Something patient and terrible. You want peace, Ambassador? Then, first, you will remember with us. All of you. Every member of your delegation will spend the next 3 days reviewing our archives. You will watch. You will listen. You will learn exactly what your empire did. And then? Thelvax asked. And then, Admiral Chen said, we will discuss the price of peace. 3 days of archives had broken something inside Thelvax. He had watched children die. He had listened to final messages from doomed colony ships. He had seen his own people, younger versions of the Empire's military, laughing as they targeted civilian centers. Now they stood in a shuttle descending toward Earth's surface. Admiral Chen had insisted. You need to see it, she had said. There. 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 The atmosphere was thick with particles that made the shuttle shake. Their pilot, a young human woman, guided them down with practiced ease. Through the window, Thelvax saw the surface approaching. What had once been a major city sprawled below them. The buildings still stood, somehow, but they were blackened husks, frozen in time. The shuttle landed in what had been a central plaza. A man waited for them. He was older, with gray hair and kind eyes that seemed wrong for this place. He wore simple clothes and carried a data pad. I am Dr. Marcus Webb, he said as they disembarked. I will be your guide through the Memorial Continent. Memorial Continent? Thelvax asked. This entire landmass has been preserved as a memorial. We have 17 of them across the planet. Each one tells the story of what happened here. Webb began walking. This particular city was called New Boston. Population at the time of bombardment was 8,200,000. Survivors, numbered 0. They walked through streets where vehicles sat abandoned, their occupants long gone to dust. Buildings leaned at impossible angles. Everything was covered in a fine ash that crunched under their feet. Dr. Webb stopped at a playground. The swings hung motionless. On the ground, on the wall behind the swings, were shadows, dark silhouettes burned into the concrete. These are people, Dr. Webb said quietly. The bombardment created such intense heat that the organic matter was vaporized instantly. But the shadows remained. These are children. Ambassador, you can see their shapes. They were playing when your ships fired. One of Thelvax's delegation made a choking sound and turned away. There are thousands of these shadow sites across the memorial continents, Dr. Webb continued. He was not angry. He spoke like a teacher, patient and thorough. Somehow, that made it worse. We have preserved them all. We have cataloged them. We have identified as many individuals as possible through position and historical records. They moved on. Dr. Webb led them to a school. The roof had partially collapsed, but the interior was intact. Desks sat in neat rows. Children's artwork still hung on the walls, protected by preservation fields that kept everything exactly as it was. This is a 4th-grade classroom, Doctor, Webb said. The students were 9 and 10 years old. We have their names. We have their school records. We have some of their final moments recorded on the school's security systems. He activated a holographic display. Children appeared, sitting at these same desks. They were laughing, talking, learning. Then, alarms sounded. The teacher tried to maintain calm. The children held hands. The recording ended in white light. Thelvax closed his eyes, but the images remained. They visited a hospital next. Dr. Webb showed them the maternity ward, where shadows of newborns lay in their bassinets. He showed them the emergency room, where doctors had died trying to treat patients during the bombardment. He showed them the children's wing, with its cheerful painted walls now cracked and faded. We have preserved 137 hospitals across the memorial continents, Dr. Webb said. Your empire targeted them specifically. Medical facilities, we learned from captured communications, were considered legitimate military targets because they could treat resistance fighters. We were following orders, one of Thelvax's aides said weakly. Dr. Webb nodded. Yes. We have extensive records of your military chain of command. We know who gave the orders. We know who followed them. We know who objected and was overruled. We know everything, Ambassador. We have spent 200 years documenting every detail. The next stop was the Hall of Names. Thelvax had thought the scrolling names on Requiem Station were overwhelming. This was beyond comprehension. The building stretched for kilometers. Inside, every wall, floor, and ceiling was carved with names. The lighting was soft, respectful. Humans walked quietly through the halls, some tracing fingers over particular names. 12 billion names, Dr. Webb said. It took us 80 years to complete this building. Every human who died in the war is here. Name, age, location of death, and when possible, their final words or actions. He led them to one section. This area contains the names of those who died on New Boston. 8,200,000 names. It takes approximately 6 hours to walk past them all if you do not stop to read. A human woman stood before one section of the wall, crying quietly. Her hand rested on a name. That is Dr. Sarah Mitchell. Dr. Webb said softly. She comes here every week to visit her family. They died on New Boston. She survived because she was on a research station in orbit. She was 12 years old. She is now 215. She has never missed a weekly visit. They spent hours in the Hall of Names. Dr. Webb showed them the different sections. Military personnel, civilians, children organized by age, The unborn, represented by their mothers' names. The final stop was the Archive of Last Words. This was a large chamber filled with holographic displays. Each one played a loop of someone's final transmission. We recovered these from communication satellites, ship logs, personal devices, and neural recordings. Dr. Webb explained. These are the last words of humans who knew they were about to die. We have 4 million such recordings. They play continuously. A middle-aged man appeared in the nearest display. He was burned. Dying. Tell my daughter I love her. Tell her it's not her fault. Tell her to live. Please. Whoever finds this, tell her to live. A young woman in a pilot's uniform. This is Captain Lisa Amaro of the cargo ship Freeman's Hope. We are under attack. No weapons. We are a civilian vessel. We have children aboard. Please. Please stop. An elderly couple, holding hands in the ruins of their home. We are Jacob and Ruth Stein. We have lived good lives. We forgive everyone. We hope humanity survives. We hope you learn to be better than this. The recordings played on and on, voices speaking into the void, crying, praying, saying goodbye, some angry, some afraid, some strangely calm. All dead. Thelvax watched them for an hour before he broke. He fell to his knees and wept. Around him, his delegation did the same. Dr. Webb waited patiently. When Thelvax finally looked up, the human's kind eyes were wet with tears. Why? Thelvax asked. Why preserve all this? Why not just rebuild and forget? Dr. Webb helped him to his feet. Because, Ambassador, if we forget, it could happen again. To us, or to someone else. This is not just a memorial to our dead. It is a promise. Never again. Not to anyone. Not anywhere. They returned to the shuttle in silence. As they lifted off, Thelvax looked down at the ruined city. From space, it looked almost peaceful. A testament, frozen in time. Every Korvathi will see this, Admiral Chen said when they returned to Requiem Station. Every one of you will walk through these memorials. You will learn these names. You will hear these voices. This is not negotiable. This is the foundation of any peace between our species. Thelvax nodded. He understood now. The humans did not want revenge. They wanted something harder. They wanted the Korvathi to remember, to carry this weight forever. We will accept your terms, he said quietly. Admiral Chen shook her head. You have not heard our terms yet, Ambassador. What you saw today, that was just the beginning. The negotiation hall was circular and vast. At its center stood a platform where Thelvax and his delegation sat. Around them, in rising tiers, sat observers. Humans, mostly. But Thelvax recognized other species too. Xinthic, Pelin, Dravik. All species the Korvathi had once enslaved or conquered. Admiral Chen was not present. Instead, the human representative was something Thelvax had only heard rumors about. The speaker appeared as a hologram, but it was unlike any artificial intelligence Thelvax had encountered. Its form shifted constantly. Faces appearing and disappearing. In its surface, thousands of faces, all human. I am the speaker, it said. Its voice was many voices, speaking in perfect harmony. I represent the human concord and the consensus of the preserved. You may address me directly. The preserved? Thelvax asked. Those who died during the genocide but whose consciousness we recovered and maintained. I am composed of 4,200,000 individual human minds, all victims of Korvathi aggression. We serve as the voice of those who cannot speak for themselves. Thelvax felt his blood turn cold. The humans had not just preserved memories. They had preserved the dead themselves. You come seeking peace, the speaker said. We are prepared to offer it. But peace has a price. We will now present our terms. A holographic document appeared in the air. It was hundreds of pages long. First, complete technological integration. All Corvathi military technology will be shared with human oversight. All weapons development will occur under joint supervision. Your defensive capabilities will be maintained, but offensive capabilities will be limited to levels we determine appropriate. One of Thelvax's military advisors stood. "You surrendered when you lost the war," the speaker said calmly. "You just didn't realize you were fighting one. We have spent 2 centuries destroying your empire from within. The rebellions, the economic collapse, the military defeats, all of it was orchestrated. Did you think the Xinthic developed their new weapons on their own? Did you believe the Pelin learned advanced tactics through trial and error?" The hall was silent. "We have been preparing for this moment since the day you glassed Earth. Every species you oppressed received our support. Weapons, training, strategic intelligence, financial backing. We turned your empire into a cage and slowly closed the walls. You are here because we allow it. So yes, this is surrender. But it is the most generous surrender in galactic history." Thelvax slowly sat down. "Second," the speaker continued, "mandatory education programs. Every Corvathi citizen will receive comprehensive education on human history and the genocide. This will be integrated into your school systems from the earliest ages. Your children will learn what their ancestors did. They will visit the memorial continents. They will study the names. This is not negotiable. You are asking us to traumatize our children," Thelvax said. "We are asking you to teach them truth," the speaker replied. "Human children learn this history. They carry the weight of 12 billion dead. Your children will carry the weight of 12 billion murders. If that is traumatic, perhaps they will learn that genocide has consequences." The document scrolled to the next section. Third, reparations. Not financial money is meaningless at this scale. Instead, you will provide labor and expertise. The Corvathi are master engineers and builders. You will help us rebuild what you destroyed. 17 human colony worlds were rendered uninhabitable during the war. You will restore them. It will take generations. You will do it anyway. Fourth, genetic and cultural preservation. You will help us restore extinct human genetic lines through advanced cloning and genetic reconstruction. You will help us revive lost art forms, dead languages, and forgotten traditions. You destroyed our diversity. You will help us reclaim it. Fifth, justice. We have identified 47,000 Corvathi military officers and officials directly responsible for war crimes. They will face trial in joint human Corvathi courts. Those found guilty will serve sentences determined by the evidence. We expect this process to take 50 years. Thelvax's aide leaned close. They are asking for everything. Our sovereignty, our pride, our freedom. They are offering our survival, Thelvax whispered back. The speaker paused. When it resumed, its voice was softer. "We understand. This seems harsh. Let me provide context. When the Xinthic begged you for peace after you conquered their homeworld, you executed their entire leadership and enslaved their population. When the Pelin surrendered, you sterilized their birth rates to ensure they could never resist again. When the Dravik offered tribute, you took it and invaded anyway. Images appeared. Atrocities committed by the Corvathi across 100 worlds. We could do to you what you did to them," the speaker said. "We have the capability. We have the justification. Instead, we offer integration. Not enslavement. Not destruction. Integration. You will remain Corvathi. Your culture will survive. Your people will live. But you will be changed. You will be better. And if we refuse," Thelvax asked quietly, "then we withdraw all support. The species you enslaved will reach your homeworld within 5 years. The Xinthic still remember what you did to their children. The Pelin still mourn their stolen generations. Without our protection, Your species will face true genocide. And we will watch. We will document it. And we will do nothing. The speaker's form shifted, showing the faces of dead humans more clearly. We do not want that, Ambassador. Despite everything, we do not want to see another species destroyed. We believe in justice, not revenge. But justice demands accountability. Justice demands change. Justice demands that you remember. A final section appeared in the document. The last condition. You will construct a memorial on your homeworld identical to the ones on Earth. Your people will maintain it forever. Your children will walk through it. They will learn what their ancestors did. They will carry that knowledge with them. Always. That is cultural destruction, Thelvax said. You are asking us to build a monument to our shame. We are asking you to build a monument to truth. The speaker corrected. You tried actual destruction, Ambassador. You tried to erase humanity from existence. You failed. This is not destruction. This is education. This is memory. This is the price of peace. Thelvax looked at the document. Hundreds of pages of conditions, requirements, oversight mechanisms. It was overwhelming. It was impossible. It was survival. How long do we have to decide? He asked. You have already decided, the speaker said gently. You decided when you came here. You decided when you saw the memorial continents. You decided when you watched the archive of last words. You know there is no other choice. Thelvax stood. His legs shook. I do not have the authority to accept these terms. I must return to the Korvathi homeworld and present them to our government. We understand. You have 30 days. During that time, we will continue to provide limited support to your defensive forces. We will prevent the complete collapse of your core territories. But in 30 days, we will require an answer. The speaker's form solidified into a single human face, an elderly woman with sad eyes. Ambassador, I am Hannah Reeves. I died on New Providence Colony when I was 43 years old. I had 2 children. They died with me. I have existed in this state for 237 years. I have devoted every moment to ensuring that what happened to my children never happens again. She leaned forward. I do not hate you, Ambassador. I hate what your people did. But I believe you can change. I believe your species can learn. I believe that someday, Korvathi and humans can stand together, not as conquerors and victims, but as partners. These terms are harsh because the crime was harsh. But they are also merciful because we believe in redemption. Thelvax felt tears on his face. What if my government refuses? Then I will watch your species die. Hannah said quietly. And I will mourn them. Because despite everything, I still believe every life is precious. Even yours. The session ended. Thelvax returned to his ship in silence. The document traveled with him, its weight pressing down on his soul. 30 days to save his species. 30 days to accept the unacceptable. 30 days to convince his people that survival required them to remember their victims forever. The Korvathi homeworld received Thelvax with chaos. Half the government wanted to accept the human terms immediately. The other half called it cultural suicide and demanded they fight to the end. The debate raged for 26 days. On day 27, Thelvax received a message from Admiral Chen. We would like to invite you to one final meeting before your decision is final. Come alone. He returned to Requiem Station in a small personal craft. Chen met him at the docking bay. But she was not alone. Beside her stood a woman who looked familiar, though Thelvax could not place her. Ambassador, this is Hannah Reeves, Chen said. Thelvax stared. But you are. You were. You were dead? Hannah smiled. It was a sad, gentle expression. I still am, in a sense. This body is synthetic, but my consciousness is the same one that died 237 years ago. I wanted to meet you in person. She led him through the station to a section he had not seen before. The entrance bore simple words: Consensus Chamber. Quote, 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 quote. What is this place? Thelvax asked. This is where we live, Hannah said. All of us. The preserved. We exist in vast server networks. But sometimes we need to meet as we once were. This chamber allows us to interact with the physical world. They entered a massive space. It was filled with people. Thousands of them. Men, women, children, all human. All watching him with eyes that had seen death and returned. There are 4 million of us, Hannah said. We are the recovered consciousnesses of genocide victims. When humans died, their neural patterns were often preserved in ship computers, personal devices, backup systems. After the war, humanity devoted enormous resources to recovering and restoring these patterns. We are not alive. But we are not truly dead either. We exist in the space between. An elderly man approached. I am Dr. James Chen. I died trying to evacuate a hospital on Earth. I was 67. I have been in this state for 198 years. A young woman, Lieutenant Maria Vasquez, died defending a colony ship. Age 24. 212 years preserved. A child. No more than 10. Tommy Brooks. Died with my school when our shelter was hit. I have been here for 2 centuries. I still remember my mom. They came forward one by one, introducing themselves. Each one a ghost. Each one a witness. Each one impossibly, terribly alive. Hannah led him to a central platform. We want to tell you a story, Ambassador. The story of how we fell. And the story of how we rose. Holographic displays activated around them. Images from the war appeared. When your empire attacked, we fought. Of course we fought. But you were stronger. Your technology was superior. Your numbers were greater. We lost battle after battle. We retreated world by world. And then you began targeting civilians. The images showed orbital bombardments, colony ships destroyed, hospitals burning. We begged for mercy. We offered surrender. We proposed peace. You refused every offer. Your empire's official policy was complete eradication. Make humanity extinct. Ensure we could never threaten anyone again. Hannah's voice remained calm, but Thelvax could hear the pain beneath it. When Earth fell, when 12 billion of us died in 6 months, the survivors faced a choice. They could seek revenge, or they could seek justice. They could become like you, or they could become better than you. The images changed. Humans building, humans learning, humans spreading across the galaxy in secret. We chose justice, but justice required patience. Justice required preparation. Justice required that we understand exactly what had been done to us and ensure it never happened again. A new figure appeared in the hologram. A Xinthic slave laborer. We found your victims, Hannah continued. Species you had conquered and enslaved. We contacted them in secret. We asked them what they needed. Weapons. Training. Hope. We provided it all. The hologram showed human ships delivering supplies to rebel groups, human advisors training resistance fighters, human intelligence networks mapping Korvathi military positions. For 200 years, we worked in the shadows. We never attacked you directly. We never revealed ourselves. Instead, we empowered those you had hurt to free themselves. The Xinthic Rebellion? We armed them. The Pellan Independence Movement? We trained them. The economic collapse of your empire? We orchestrated it. Thelvax watched as the careful dismantling of his entire civilization played out before him. Every rebel victory, every lost territory, every military defeat, all part of a plan 2 centuries in the making. We could have destroyed you at any time, Hannah said. Our technology surpassed yours within 50 years of the genocide. Our military capacity could have crushed your empire within a decade, but that would have been revenge, not justice. She turned to face him directly. We wanted you to understand. We wanted you to see what you created. We wanted you to face the species you enslaved and realize they were never inferior. They were only oppressed. We wanted you to fall slowly enough to learn why you were falling. Why did NA4? Why did A4? Dr. Chen stepped forward. I devoted my afterlife to studying Korvathi psychology. I wanted to understand why you did this. I spent decades researching your history, your culture, your philosophy, and I learned something important. He activated another display. It showed Korvathi history, their rise from a primitive species to a spacefaring empire. You were once victims too. 5,000 years ago, another species conquered your homeworld. They enslaved you. They treated you as inferior. It took you 2,000 years to free yourselves. And when you did, you swore it would never happen again. The images showed Korvathi building weapons, expanding their territory, conquering other species. But you learned the wrong lesson. Instead of ensuring no one would ever be enslaved again, you decided to be the ones doing the enslaving. You became your oppressors. You perpetuated the cycle. Hannah took over. This is why our terms are what they are. We are not trying to destroy you. We are trying to break the cycle. We are trying to ensure that in 5,000 years, the Korvathi are not remembered as genocidal monsters, but as a species that learned, changed, and helped build a better galaxy. Lieutenant Vasquez spoke. I was a soldier. I killed Korvathi during the war. I watched my friends die. When I was recovered and learned that humanity was planning justice instead of revenge, I was angry. I wanted to see your worlds burn as mine burned. She paused, her synthetic eyes meeting Thelvax's. But I spent 2 centuries in the consensus. I talked with the other preserved. I learned about cycles of violence. I studied your history, and I realized that revenge would just create new victims, new ghosts, new pain. So I devoted myself to this plan, to justice that breaks cycles instead of continuing them. Tommy Brooks, the child, spoke in a small voice. I don't remember much about being alive. I remember my mom's face. I remember being scared. But I have had 200 years to think, and I think the humans who saved me from complete death did the right thing. I think stopping bad things from happening again is more important than making bad people hurt. The chamber filled with voices. Thousands of the preserved spoke, each adding their story. Some wanted harsher terms, some wanted more mercy. But all agreed on the fundamental point. The cycle had to end. Finally, Hannah raised her hand for silence. Ambassador, we brought you here to make one thing clear. This is not just a decision between governments. This is a decision that affects every conscious being in the galaxy. If you accept our terms, the Korvathi will survive and eventually thrive. If you refuse, you will be destroyed. And that destruction will create new victims, new trauma, new ghosts. She gestured to the thousands of preserved surrounding them. We do not want that. We have seen death. We have experienced it. We exist in its shadow. We do not wish it on anyone, not even those who killed us. Thelvax looked around at the sea of faces. The dead who still lived. The victims who refused to become perpetrators. The ghosts who chose justice over revenge. Why? He asked, his voice breaking. Why show me mercy? Why not just end us? Hannah smiled sadly. Because, Ambassador, we are still human, and humans believe in redemption. We believe that even those who do terrible things can learn to do better. We believe in second chances. Not because you deserve them, but because a galaxy built on mercy is better than a galaxy built on revenge. She extended her synthetic hand. Go home, Ambassador. Tell your people what you have seen. Tell them about the ghosts, who chose to teach, rather than destroy. Tell them about the humans who turned their genocide into a lesson for the galaxy. And tell them that we are waiting to see if they will learn. Thelvax took her hand. It felt real, warm, alive. I will tell them, he whispered. I will make them understand. Good, Hannah said. Because tomorrow, the 30 days end, and the galaxy waits to see what the Korvathi choose. 50 years later, a young Korvathi girl named Velmara sat in a shuttle descending toward Earth. She was 14 years old. And this was her required educational pilgrimage. Every Korvathi made this journey when they reached this age. Every Korvathi learned what their ancestors had done. Her teacher was human. Professor David Martinez had taught Korvathi students for 30 years. He was patient and kind, but his lessons were hard. He sat beside her now, as the shuttle broke through the atmosphere. Are you nervous? He asked. Velmara nodded. My grandfather told me about his visit. He said, it changed him. It changes everyone, Professor Martinez said gently. The shuttle landed in what had been New Boston. Velmara stepped onto the ash-covered ground and looked around. Even after 50 years of visiting, even after hearing the stories, the reality of it struck her hard. This entire city had been full of people. Now it was empty, preserved forever as a testament to what war truly meant. Professor Martinez led their group of 20 Korvathi students through the familiar path. The playground, with its shadows. The school with its frozen classroom. The hospital, with its silent wards. Velmara found herself crying before they reached the Hall of Names. An elderly Korvathi man worked at the hall, carefully cleaning the carved names. He moved slowly, with the stiffness of age. But his work was precise and reverent. That is Kor then, Professor Martinez said quietly. He was a military officer during the war. He participated in the bombardment of 3 human colonies. He was tried, found guilty, and sentenced to 60 years of service in the Reconstruction Corps. He has spent 55 years maintaining this hall. He knows the name of every person who died on New Boston. Velmara watched the old Korvathi work. He paused at one name, running his fingers over the carved letters, his head bowed. Is he my great-grandfather? She asked. Professor Martinez checked his data pad. Yes. Kor then is your mother's grandfather. He never speaks of the war, but he comes here every day. He says the names deserve someone to remember them personally, not just collectively. They entered the Hall of Names. The weight of 12 billion names pressed down on Velmara. She walked slowly, reading names at random. Sarah Chen, age 34. Marcus Wilson, age 7. Li Wei, age 61. Each name was a person. Each person had a story. Her group spent 6 hours in the hall. It was required. They had to understand the scale of what had happened. When they emerged, Velmara felt exhausted. But the tour was not over. They visited the archive of last words. Velmara listened to Captain Lisa Amaro begging for her life and the lives of children aboard her ship. She listened to Jacob and Ruth Stein forgiving their killers. She listened to 100 final messages from dying humans. Why do they make us do this? One of her classmates whispered. Professor Martinez overheard. You are not here to accept blame for actions you did not commit. You are here to accept responsibility for ensuring they never happen again. You are here to learn that actions have consequences that echo across generations. You are here to understand the weight of memory. That evening, they returned to the shuttle. But Velmara asked if she could stay longer. Professor Martinez smiled. Many students ask that. Yes, you can stay. There is a youth hostel near the memorial. You can spend as much time as you need. Velmara spent 3 more days walking the memorial continent. She visited sites she had not seen on the official tour. She read names she would never forget. She listened to voices that still spoke from the grave. On the third day, she encountered a human woman sitting beside the shadow wall at the playground. The woman was ancient, her hair white, her face lined with centuries of life. She sat in silence, looking at the shadow of a child frozen in mid-swing. "May I sit with you?" Velmara asked. The woman looked at her and smiled. "Of course. I am Dr. Sarah Mitchell. I come here every week." Velmara sat. They said nothing for a long time. Finally, Velmara spoke. "I am sorry for what my people did." Dr. Mitchell reached out and took her hand. "Thank you. But you do not carry your ancestors' sins. You only carry the responsibility to be better. My great-grandfather helped do this," Velmara said, tears streaming down her face. "He was part of the bombardment fleets." "I know," Dr. Mitchell said gently. "Core then?" "Yes. He comes here every day. He has apologized to me personally 17 times over the years. Each time I tell him what I will tell you." She pointed to the shadow on the wall. "That was my sister. Her name was Emma. She was 8 years old. She loved swings. Your great-grandfather's ship was part of the fleet that fired on this city. That is truth. That is history. That is what happened." Dr. Mitchell squeezed Velmara's hand. "But you are not your great-grandfather. You are Velmara. And you have a choice about who you will be. You can carry guilt and shame. Or you can carry memory and responsibility. You can let the past destroy you. Or you can let it teach you." "How do I live with this knowledge?" Velmara asked. "The same way I do. The same way your great-grandfather does. You remember. You learn. You work to build a better galaxy. You ensure it never happens again." Over the next 50 years, Velmara devoted herself to that work. She became a restoration engineer, specializing in ecosystem recovery. She spent 30 years helping restore New Providence Colony, the world where Hannah Reeves had died. She worked alongside humans, Xinthic, Pelin, and other species. Together, they brought dead worlds back to life. She worked with her great-grandfather until he died at age 203. He passed away on Earth, in the shadow of the Hall of Names. His last words were an apology and a promise. "I am sorry. I tried to make it right," Ender said. At his funeral, held at the memorial with full human military honors, hundreds of humans attended. They spoke of his decades of service. They spoke of his dedication to remembrance. They spoke of redemption earned through action, not words. Admiral Chen herself, now impossibly old and maintained by advanced medical technology, gave the eulogy. Core then could not undo what he did. None of us can undo the past. But he devoted every remaining day of his life to ensuring the future would be different. That is all we can ask. That is all we should demand. Memory and action. Remembrance and renewal. Velmara took over her great-grandfather's daily duty at the Hall of Names. Every morning before her work on ecosystem restoration, she spent 1 hour cleaning names. She learned their stories. She memorized their faces from preserved images. She carried them with her. She married a human, a biologist named James, who worked alongside her on restoration projects. Together, they had children. Their children were the first generation of human Korvathi offspring. They represented something impossible 50 years earlier. Integration, not conquest. Partnership, not domination. Their daughter, Emma, Sarah, named for Dr. Mitchell's sister and for the admiral who had offered peace instead of destruction, became the youngest person to address the Galactic Council. At age 22, she spoke about the importance of institutional memory. "I am half human, half Korvathi," she said. "I carry the genes of both victims and perpetrators. I carry the weight of 12 billion deaths and the responsibility to ensure nothing like it ever happens again. This is not a burden. This is a purpose." She gestured to the gallery where thousands of species watched. "Every species here has committed atrocities at some point in their history. Every species here has been victim at some point. The question is not whether we have darkness in our past. The question is what we do with that knowledge. The memorial continents on Earth had become pilgrimage sites for the entire galaxy. Millions visited each year, species that had never known humanity, species that had never encountered the Korvathi, came to learn. They walked through the ruins. They read the names. They listened to the last words. They learned the lesson humanity had spent 2 centuries teaching. Genocide has eternal consequences. On Earth, at the Hall of Names, Velmara worked alongside human volunteers. They cleaned the names together. They told the stories together. They remembered together. One day, a group of young Xinthic students visited. They were learning about the Korvathi Empire and the rebellions that freed them. Their teacher explained how humanity had helped their people escape slavery. One student asked Velmara, "Do you hate what your people did?" Velmara thought carefully before answering, "I hate the actions. I hate the pain they caused. But I do not hate my ancestors as people. They were wrong. They did terrible things, but they were still people who could have chosen differently. My job is to make sure their descendants, me, my children, all Korvathi, do choose differently." The student nodded. "We learn that humans turned pain into purpose." "Yes," Velmara said. "Humans could have turned pain into revenge. Instead, they turned it into education. They turned genocide into the galaxy's most important lesson. They remembered everything. Not to punish, but to prevent. That is why we are all here today. That is why the galaxy is better than it was." That evening, Velmara stood at the observation platform overlooking New Boston. The sun set over the ruined city, casting long shadows. Beside her stood Dr. Mitchell, now 300 years old, and still making her weekly visits. "Do you think it worked?" Velmara asked. "The peace, the integration, the remembrance. Did it work?" Dr. Mitchell smiled. "Look around. Korvathi and humans working together. Dead worlds coming back to life. Species that were enemies learning to be partners. No major galactic conflict. In 50 years. Yes, child. It worked. But the price," Velmara said. "Carrying this memory forever. Building monuments to shame. Is it worth it?" Dr. Mitchell pointed to the stars appearing in the darkening sky. "Out there, thousands of worlds exist that would have been destroyed in the old cycle of revenge and counter-revenge. Out there, billions of beings live in peace because humanity chose justice over vengeance. Out there, the future is being built by those who learned from the past instead of repeating it." She turned to Velmara. "The price is memory. The reward is a galaxy that learns. Yes, child, it is worth it." 4. Above them, Requiem Station orbited silently. Within it, the preserved continued their eternal watch. Hannah Reeves, still serving as speaker after centuries, monitored the galaxy. She watched species learn. She watched peace hold. She watched the cycle finally, truly break. And on Earth, the memorial continents stood eternal. The shadows remained. The names endured. The voices still spoke. The ghosts of Earth remembered everything. And because they remembered, the galaxy would never forget.